Hi, I'm Alexa Kim and thank you for joining me on our beginners Pilates session. So let's start by getting the body warm. Sitting down, nice and straight, legs stretched out in front of you. Let's start to warm up those legs and feet. Pointing and flexing the toes, feeling the stretch down the back of the legs, into the ankles and into the feet. Be mindful of posture, keeping your shoulders back and down, breathing deeply. Now bring the knees upright with the feet flat on the floor. We're going to hug our body into our knees and then rounding our back, we're going to lean back away from the legs. Repeat this a few times, really feeling the rounding and the stretch in the back. Breathing deeply, preparing the body for work. We're now going to begin the main body of our exercise. Laying flat on your mat, we're going to bring our feet flat to the mat, knees pointing to the ceiling, knees hip distance apart. We're going to begin by finding neutral spine. So we're going to tilt our pelvis all the way in each direction, like a bucket of water spilling each side. We're then going to find the neutral aspect of that, somewhere between the two, where the water isn't spilling, and we're going to anchor our ribs towards our hips. From here we're going to go into tabletop, bringing one leg 90-degree angle up and following with the second leg. Bringing the first foot down to the ground and followed by the second. And we're going to work through each side, alternating between the sides. I'm embracing my core, belly button to spine, tightening my belt. We're aiming not to allow the spine to move while we're performing this movement, which uses the core for stability. Make sure you're breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the nose while performing the exercise. We're now going to prepare to advance this movement. I'm clasping my hands behind my head, elbows out and as flat to the floor as possible. I'm now going to draw my trunk up, looking through my thighs, keeping those elbows back and down. This is ensuring that I'm using my core to lift my upper body off the mat and not using my arms for momentum. Lift your head and your shoulders up as high as you can. Hold for a moment at the top and then lower with control. Breathe deeply through the movements. Hug those knees into your chest to relax those abdominal muscles after that hard work. Now let's move into the lower part of the body. We're going to work the legs and the glutes with a shoulder bridge. I'm going to fully tilt my pelvis and I'm rolling up through the spine, peeling my back off the mat vertebra by vertebra. Holding at the top, squeezing the glutes and then rolling back down onto the mat, again vertebra by vertebra before relaxing the pelvis. Really work on keeping that pelvis tucked, those glutes engaged and squeezed at the top. Keeping that pelvis tucked as you come back down until you relax onto the floor. Breathe deeply through the movement. Aim to get those hips as high on the last repetition as you do on the first. Keep shoulders relaxed. And feel you peeling off the lower back, the mid back and the upper back before lowering back down with control. We're now going to advance this movement into a single leg shoulder bridge. Up into your bridge movement, we're going to raise and lower alternate legs, slowly and with control. Notice how I'm not raising my leg higher than 90 degrees at the hip, and I'm keeping my hips high, glutes engaged, while I perform the movement. This movement is difficult. Breathe deeply. Go back to your raising and lowering if you prefer. Stretch your legs away from your body and arms above your head. Stretch the body out after working hard. We're now going to work into the sides of the legs. Positioning yourself on your mat on your side, you're going to rest your head on your hand or laying it down on your arm stretched out in front of you. Arm in front is there for steadiness, and we're lining up our heels, our hips and our shoulders. We're going to flex the top foot and we are raising and lowering with control. This is going to work the outer part of the leg, the abductor muscles, as well as aiding hip mobility and work into the glute. Ensure your hips are stacked on top of each other and the only movement is coming from the leg. Bringing the knees in towards the body and the feet away, we're now going to work into the clam. Bringing your hand to your hip, we're going to raise and lower the top knee, keeping the toes touching at the bottom. Again, we just want to allow this leg to raise enough, but not too much, that the hips are not stacked on top of each other. Raising and lowering with control, breathing, looking straight ahead. And now we're going to take that a little bit further and we're going to touch the knees followed by the toes. The knees followed by the toes. This is going to keep tension in that outer leg muscle, the abductor, really working into that muscle, strengthening and toning. Now let's repeat that all on the other side. Get yourself set up again. Remember, we want heels, hips and shoulders in line. Your head is resting in your hand or on your arm if your arm is stretched out in front of you, and the front arm is adding support. Hips are stacked, ribs are engaged down to hips. Flexing that top foot, we're raising and lowering the leg. Breathing deeply, moving with control. And now let's come back into the clam. So knees in towards the body, feet away, hand on hip, just making sure that hip stays stable and the hips are stacked on top of each other. We are raising and lowering the top knee away from the bottom knee. Feet remain touching as we lever the top leg up and down. If you wish to advance this, we're going to bring knee to knee, toe to toe, switching between the two positions with control, keeping that hip stable, not allowing the hips to move too much with the motion. The movement is coming all from the legs. And relax. Thank your leg for the hard work. Now we're going to work into the back of the body. Find yourself on all fours, knees under hips and hands under shoulders. I'm going to begin by tucking my tailbone fully in and rolling through each section of my back, finishing with tucking my chin into the chest. I'm then going to reverse that, tilting my pelvis, rolling through the back, finishing with my head looking forwards. We call this angry cat and happy cow. Try to ensure you're working through each segment of your back, getting a full roll of the spine as we work each of the postures. Breathe deeply. Keep your core engaged. Now finally, let's work that full body. I'm going to bring myself up onto my toes into plank position, and then I'm going to push back into downward dog. Moving between the two positions, feeling the stretch down the back of my body, and then nice neutral spine as I bring myself forward into plank. Wrists below shoulders, keeping that back open and pushing back with those shoulders into downward dog. Hold each of the postures for as long as feels comfortable, moving between the two. Oh, that's hard work. Now let's stretch back into child's pose. Relax those muscles, breathe deeply. Thank you so much for joining me on this beginner Pilates session. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.